Good afternoon, Satish. Please introduce yourself to the BIS Connect parents.
Hi, my name is Satish Ananthaiyer. I'm parent to Ganesh Iyer, who is currently in grade 10. I have a daughter, Ramya Iyer, who is studying currently in Boston. My wife Padma and her family, we live in Bangalore in Malaysia.
All right, thank you. Do tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Yeah, so I was born and brought up in Bangalore. I did get a chance to experience the true garden city it was at that time. I spent a lot of time at the Indian Institute of Science, where my dad was a professor in the campus, and it was fun times growing up in Bangalore.
Do tell us a little bit more about your family.
Okay. So yeah, my dad was a prof, mom a homemaker. He was a prof in organic and physical chemistry. Then my wife Padma has studied engineering, and she has a double master's in computer engineering and networking. But right now she is busy taking care of my son, and hopefully she can get back to what she wants to do after he goes to college.
What do you do professionally? What inspired you to pursue your current profession?
I'm a long-time telecom executive. I actually running my own startup company called Ananthaiyer Networks. Been trying to really develop 5G and 6G networks. The vision, the holy grail, is to really make digital connectivity pervasive all over the world, and especially in India. So that's currently what I'm working on, and this is not the first time that I've been doing it. Kind of worked on generations of communication technologies all the way from 2G through 5G.
That's interesting. What drives you through tough times?
So good question. It's as as an entrepreneur and also running a startup company, or I'm also very interested in long distance running, and tough times part of life. So I think the most important characteristics that we need to exhibit are patience and perseverance. And learning cannot happen without going through tough times, and that's what I would say.
Have to agree on that. Moving on to another question. If moods choose music, what moods drive your music choices?
So we do a lot of music at home. So I'm both my wife and I actually are trained classical music, vocal, and we actually play the veena. I also play the guitar, just to kind of relax myself, and my daughter and son also, sing, and both of them play the piano. So we are a really musical family. And I think, music is essential part of life, and I think it kind of has a very calming influence. I think it really has it could potentially change your personality. And once you have the calmness and the clarity, I think you can actually make a really good decision. So, of course, my favorite is classical music, whether it be Carnatic or Hindustani or Western.
Very nice. What do you think is unique about the cultural fabric of Bangalore?
Bangalore is, it's the openness, right? I think is really awesome. It's kind of I would say, a mini New York, right? Where it's really cosmopolitan. I've been, I grew up in Bangalore, and I know how it was. I grew up in Malaysia, right, which is a really older part of town, and a lot of cultural values. You can see a lot of places of worship, temples, and other things. But as Bangalore has grown, I think people in Bangalore have developed that acceptance and openness for people come migrating into the city, and I think it's still really an awesome place to live and have fun. Obviously, the traffic and the flooding, there's planning issues, but other than that, I think it's a great city to live in.
I have to agree, being a fellow Bangalorean too. If you could have a conversation with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Yeah, so there are historical, it could be mythical, or it could be a famous personality. So I have a lot of interest. I'm actually very interested in academics, as you know, then technology, then philosophy, and sports. So if I have to pick, philosophy, I would actually like to have a conversation with Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi, really to ask him the question about what's the secret of death. So that's really the so and if it's technology, I would like to have spoken to Steve Jobs. And I think what's the I think as we have heard and we've known him, extremely motivated and focused personality, and it would have been great to kind of pick his brains as to how he would actually see new technologies arriving, and his problem solving ability. And if you go to sports, I would like to talk to Michael Jordan or Tom Brady, quarterback of Patriots. Really to understand, what drives people to kind of pursue success at such a high level. I think that's really what I would like to understand from them. I think it's really key, I think, for every human being to kind of really focus and figure out, how we can, succeed.
Interesting. What have you learned from success and what have you learned from failure?
Yeah, so in my book, failure is a essential step in achieving success. I keep telling my son all the time, and as you know, I'm a sports personality. In fact, he's a really good soccer player, right? And any team sport, as you know, is a really a kind of learning ground, especially for children to kind of set aside their ego and also understand what failure is. And you make mistakes, and then you kind of trip up. You cannot win every game, and you have to lose some games. And when you trip up, you need to have the patience to kind of really go analyze, what happened here, how can I improve myself for moving forward. And it's a I would say success is not achieved overnight, so it's really unraveling of failures and kind of really building progress block by block. And when you achieve success, you would not even know that you have achieved it. So that's really how I think life in general works that way.
Mhm. That's a good perspective on success and failure. What is it about BIS that's inspirational?
I think I'm no stranger to BIS in terms of they've been here 2 years, but when my daughter and son, they used to go to Trio, and then we used to come to BIS, to kind of he was on the school soccer team, and we actually visited BIS, and I think it seemed like a very, I would say, close knit community. And people, children were really very happy. We could see the good vibrations coming out of it. And I think based on that, I think it also had really good international repute. Like I said earlier in my summary document, when my daughter was actually received an interview call from Columbia and around Ivy League schools, and they asked the question, hey, why did you not try to go to BIS or TISP? And so I think the fabric of the student community and the teachers, and also the I would say the contained nature actually had made it I would say really a very good school, and for kids to not only get good grades, but have good values and come up in life. So that's really what impressed us. Unfortunately, we are I'm seeing the other side of the eyes. Hopefully, we can get past the cloudy days and kind of we should start to see the blue sky here. So,
You said you've joined BIS 2 years ago, having been here for about 10. Yes, there are times, I think, in the life of all schools and all organizations where you go through ups and downs. And I'd like to
correct.
believe that this is just a bad down that we're going through, because for an institution that has stood 50 years, a couple of months is it's just a drop in that 50 year, or a little a little beep in that 50-year graph. So I think most of us believe that given time and given some common sense and good people, I think we'll get past this. What
Yeah.
life-changing event in the past has shaped your today?
I think there are many events. It depends on the perspective. But I think my ability to actually go to the US to do my doctoral degree actually really changed my personality. I think, I was kind of, I was introverted, kind of really comfortable in my own shell when I was in Bangalore. I did my bachelor's in engineering in the UVC here. Uh, so I think, although my dad was well traveled and he gave me a perspective of life, I thought that you need to experience it. Every person has to experience it by themselves. So I think going out and then going to a different country, and then kind of trying to work your way through a very challenging program, I would say. I think that really shaped my life. And I had my advisor, Professor Aurel Kashyap, pretty very famous guy in his field, and he was also a taskmaster. Literally would walk through fire to actually talk to him. And but when I actually came out on the other side, so his comment was, you have the knowledge, go conquer the world. So I think that is, I would cherish this moment forever.
Mm. Education does do that, doesn't it? What is the
Absolutely.
one, huh, what is the one thing about you that most people don't know, but you wish they did?
Humor. I'm I think humor is built into my DNA. And most of the times I'm actually in a situation where I'm in a position where kind of where people are actually looking at me and I kind of have to sometimes toe the party line, but behind the scenes I'm really funny guy, so I probably should figure out a way by which I can express myself better.
Yeah, humor is always good. Uh, Moving on to something quite serious, what are your thoughts on the concept of women seeking permission, whether in personal or professional contexts? Please explain.
Yes, to be honest with you, I looked at the question. I did not understand what you mean by women seeking permission. Can you kindly elaborate on that?
Sure. So, for instance, in the world that we live in currently, women are expected to seek permission for everything that we do. For instance,
Okay.
from stepping out, considering we live in India, from stepping out of your house to how you dress, to what you wear, to who you marry, do you work, do you study, what you study, everything is kind of sort of permission based. So, what do you think of the fact that women should be seeking permission, whether in personal or professional contexts? If you feel, no, we don't need permission, then how does this society or the social fabric of society work?
Yeah, for me, I have a daughter and a son, right? I came out of my mom, right? So I think, women are, kind of, like we say, Mother Earth, right? So I think women have a very high standing in society. Now, there should be perfect equality. I think I really strongly support that. And, there is no going back on that. And women are pretty much, as capable or if not more capable than men of doing things. I mean, obviously, Mother Nature actually constructed, physiologically, men and women to be different, but pretty much there ends it, the difference. So I think, women should be empowered uh, to do everything and achieve everything that they can in life. Absolutely no doubt about it. And in fact, when we lived in US for like 25 years, right? And there is absolute equality there. We never felt like when my wife used to, kind of do everything pretty much around around the house, do her stuff, and we never felt anything, different in the way she was treated as opposed to another person or man. But in India, there is a little bit of hesitation, probably because I think it's maybe because of safety considerations, I would say, more than anything else. But but really, there should be no there should be no discrimination whatsoever.
So you think that is only safety that is driving this business of permission? Schools are fairly safe, but you're still asked to take permission to have an education. I'm wondering if after 70 something years, don't you think we should have fixed a safety issue if that's what's keeping 50% of our population under the thumbs of the remaining 50% of the population?
Yeah. It's a travesty. I mean, to be really honest with you, right? It's for in our household, right? We have absolutely no, it's there is no concept like that, to be honest with you.
That's
And yeah.
What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received, and how has it influenced you?
Yeah, so there were a few people in my life that actually made a big difference. My dad was one, right, and then my advisor. Obviously, my mom was there. Um, I still kind of remember my dad saying to me. I think it was probably in 10th grade. So you know. I was actually really good in Sanskrit, and then I used to attend all the Sanskrit classes, and be very interested in reciting Vedas and things like that. And then he said one day, I think I was taking too many exams in Sanskrit, and he said, "Hey, you have come to a T junction. Decide whether you want to be a priest or do you want to make a difference in the world." And I think that's it's probably like it's a simple wake up call that kind of really made me
Hmm.
who I am today.
Interesting. Is there a particular book or movie that had a significant impact on your life?
Yeah, I read a lot of people gave me a PhD, but I'm really interested in philosophy. I read a lot of books. I think the if I were to name a book, I think I would actually kind of gravitate towards The Man Who Knew Infinity by Srinivasan Ramanujan, one of the greatest mathematicians, right, India has ever produced. And it kind of describes, a brilliant mind who kind of had to go to England, and then how he had to suffer, because of change of environment, and it's kind of, I would say, a bittersweet story, and that's a book that has influenced me.
That's a new one. We haven't heard that one so far. It's very
Okay.
eclectic what people find inspirational. What are your goals or aspirations for the future, both personally and professionally?
Yeah, personally, I would actually like to really give as much back to the community, my knowledge, my experience. I've been in the industry, I've been in academia, for a long time, and I just can't carry this knowledge, along with me. So one of the things I've done really is to, kind of, it's first thing starts at home. So I teach my children. Then I also did some voluntary teaching work, mathematics and physics. Like in Trial World School, I would teach the 11th graders and sometimes the 12th graders. That's one thing. And then, as you know, I'm really interested in running, and we have a running group, and I actually give, I would say, voluntary coaching to aspiring runners. I'm also very much interested in, maintaining a perfect health, and any input on that from the runners. Actually, I want to kind of give back to the community. So that's really on the personal front. Professionally, really make India kind of come to the global standard with regard to telecommunication. I mean, India has really struggled, right? And so, I've spoken to, the XX and Reliance Jio, Airtel, and all these companies, and also some connects in the telecom ministry. I think, I really want to put India on the world map on this one.
Mhm. In most problematic situations, would you make your decisions and find solutions based on black, white, or gray areas?
Yeah, I think you need to look at everything here. I mean, it's you know, it's truth is experiential, and solution is constructed, from kind of really reaching the truth, and you kind of have to go at it methodically. Like for example, right, to get a perspective of what's going on in BIS, I had to talk to many parents, the board members, and everybody to kind of really get an overall picture. So it's I think you need a combination of everything here, and a process to arrive at the solution.
It's interesting that you mentioned that in your conversations with parents and with board members. What is it that you arrived at as being the problem that we're having? Because I think a lot of us don't even know what the problem is, and some of us have concluded there was no problem. It was just a storm in a teacup. So, what is it? What's your analysis of the whole thing?
Yeah, so I think to be honest with you, personally, when you talk to people, everybody is a parent, right? It's just like and they're all great people. I think it's more the circumstance as to when it comes to a school. I think then maybe there are opinions that kind of come into play, because they're meeting, they're actually forced to make decisions, and I would say that I think communication seems to be the biggest problem here. See, in a pro bono type of role, right? I've been on boards of NGOs, back in Boston. I used to be on the board of Chinmay Mission, right? And then we used to have a lot of basically it's a spiritual education for children. We also used to help the community, etc. A lot of the decision making, you don't really have time, and you don't have people when you actually take decisions, and that could sometimes and at that point in time, communication becomes really important. And if you don't communicate, then you could actually end up taking a decision that may not. And if you look back, it may not be exactly very suitable. And in here, there, we had, I think we had about 700, families, basically 700, 1,400 parents, very similar to BIS. But here it's in primary education, and obviously in India, parents are extremely concerned. Hey, what happens if my child doesn't get properly educated? And that's the reason why I think in a parent-run school. By the way, my primary school was also a parent-run school, and we had difficulties. But in here, communication, I think over communication is extremely important. I think, and that's really where I think there was for whatever circumstance. There's also COVID, right, in the midst of all these things. I mean, COVID really changed the way that people, think, and people were not well. So that may have actually influenced the whole comms chain, and if because of the breakdown, then if there's no communication, then you have your own perception of who a person is, and that kind of really spoils the party.
Hmm. So I think by communicating and getting rid of the perception, if we can get rid of the problems, I think that'll be really cool. Have you done any
Right.
voluntary work, and what were your reasons for volunteering? I know you mentioned a few things. Apart from the ones that you mentioned, have you done anything else?
Yeah, I mean, if you lived in the US, and even before, right? I think voluntary work is it should be considered part of life. In fact, my dad, kind of comes from our family. My dad, used to also do a lot of volunteer work, and it doesn't have to be, right, voluntary work. It doesn't have to be where something that you can put up on LinkedIn, or something that you need to, kind of publicize. It could be as simple as actually, helping a soup kitchen, helping, people in need. Like COVID actually brought out, the best in humanity, I would say. And we did a lot of work during COVID to help people. My daughter, right, she taught in a government school. Actually, she taught Kannada, to the children, and English. I worked in many voluntary organizations actually, in the Boston area. Um, and yeah, I think it should be part of everybody's, I think, fabric, because there is always people in need. I mean, sometimes we could be at the receiving end, and it's always great to actually have that. That feeling, that gratitude, right? The giving actually kind of really makes a human being very light, and you have a lot of gratitude, and that actually could make each a better person. I think that's really what I think.
Are there any hobbies or interests that you're passionate about?
Yes, yeah, sport is one thing, especially in sport, it's marathon running. Very interested in running. Been running for a long time, probably almost like 40 years. And we lived in Boston, where running is a total mania. So it's interest, and like I said earlier, very interested in music, strumming the guitar, or playing the drums, like a djembe or something like that. So I think these are sport actually promotes your health and gives you a sense of well-being and confidence, and music calms the mind. So you you actually are in better shape to do what you want to do. So,
It sure does. What do you like to do for fun?
yeah, driving. So see, we lived in the US for a long time, and the highway system is really great, and you could pretty much drive anywhere to the remote, mountains or deserts, to the beach. So that is really one of the things that we used to do quite a bit.
That really wraps up the questions that we had planned for you. If you would like to say something before we actually wrap up, would you like to address the parents of BIS?
Yes, first of all, Bindu, thank you very much for providing me this opportunity to connect with parents. I hope the parents get a good perspective of who Satish Ananthaiyer, the person, is. And I would request you to support me in this endeavor. And I think together, right, with your support, I think we can make BIS the great school that it's always been. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time, Satish. All the very best. And we'll meet up on the other side of this AGM in whatever shape or form. Thank you once again.
All right. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.